Namaste, and let's go live on another bicycle live stream. Sunday, June the 21st at 7:26 a.m. It's a cool 14 degrees. I've ridden 26 kilometres and it's the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year in the southern hemisphere and the longest night of the year. So from here on in, the days will start to get longer. Well, the daylight will start to get longer. The days will still have 24 hours in them. And, and you know, I've gotten used to the shorter days. I quite like the coziness of it all. So it'll be a little bit of a, getting used to the change again as we start heading towards the warmer part of the year again. Anyway, I wanted to talk about a subject that comes up from time to time and is very misunderstood in spiritual understanding. So this morning's live stream is, dear friend, you are not God. Now, I noticed somebody made a comment, sort of along these lines recently, maybe in the last week or two on my page, and I just made a mental note. I said, mental? This is a note. No, I just made a mental note to discuss this topic when the time came available. So, I've been following the different spiritual paths for all my adult life, and way back in the 1980s, I used to follow the New Age teachings of different people, and this idea that we are God was fairly pervasive in the New Age teachings, and it's very attractive to certain types of people. It's very attractive to our false ego, and it's also very easily disproven how ridiculous an idea that it is, and how it stems from a misunderstanding of who we are, and how it appeals to our false ego for the very point that our false ego is wants to feel the ultimate pleasure, and it gives us an excuse to do whatever we want. Let me explain. If we believe that we are God, rather than understanding the reality, which is that we are children of God, we are the children, not the Father. If we believe that we are all-powerful, it very conveniently gives us an excuse to say, oh, well, I can do anything I want. We can just put to one side any morals or ethics or any restrictions or rules or whatever we want, all in the name of satisfying our false ego. So we can say, well, I am God, and we're all connected, and it doesn't, what I do is part of what you're doing, and it doesn't matter in the long run. So, if I wish to eat animals, I can do that. If I wish to have promiscuous sex, I can do that. If I wish to partake in illicit substances and drugs, I can do that because, I am God and it doesn't matter. And this excuse has actually been used by some well-known pseudo-gurus in the past. I think probably the biggest example, or the most well-known example, was Bhagwan Rajneesh, who is referred to these days as Osho, and he was a proponent of that, if it feels good, do it sort of philosophy, and the people love that. The people just love it. It's the false ego just goes, oh great, I can do anything I want. I don't have to discipline myself. I don't have to work on self-discipline and self-control, and because we are the ultimate pleasure seekers, we love an excuse to just go, yep, I've got permission now to do whatever I want. We love that excuse. It doesn't bring us happiness. It brings us sensory pleasure, temporary sensory pleasure, but it certainly doesn't bring us happiness. And it's amusing to read it when it comes up on my page. I usually don't even bother saying anything at the time because it's so what's the word I'm looking for? We are so limited, and I've spoken about this from time to time, that it's so easily disproven. Let's put it that way. It is so easily disproven. It's like, really? So you are God. So what is the definition of God? The definition of God is the highest, the ultimate power, the ultimate controller, the strongest, the wisest, the most beautiful, the all-knower, all-knowing being that knows everything that's going on, that controls everything. So you are him. Wow, that's impressive. So, you put that to somebody and they'll come back and they'll go, oh, yes, but I'm God and I chose to take on the form of human and come down to play on the planet, which is one of the excuses that they use in New Age things. It's like, really? So, you're all God, you know everything, you are the ultimate in bliss, Ananda, the ultimate knower of everything. You chose instead to leave that and come down to suffering. That makes a lot of sense to me. It doesn't, of course, when you start to analyse it just a little bit, you go, it doesn't make any sense at all. If I am in a state of bliss, would I want anything less than that? No, of course not, because that fits in with the definition that we are the ultimate pleasure seekers. So, yeah, sure, we came down to a life of suffering, of birth, death, disease, and old age, of just countless daily sufferings, either involving ourselves, our family members, our friends, workmates, neighbours, enemies, the animals, the planet. No God in their right mind would subject themselves to that, unless they were a masochist, which of course God wouldn't be. So that throws that little argument out of the way. It's like, yeah, I chose to come here to a life of suffering. They say I came here to play. It's like, what? So you being all powerful weren't in a state of blissful play in the first place? Well, then you're not God. So you see how it comes together. So there's this misunderstanding that it originates from is the fact that we are children of God, or as some people might like to say, we are children of love. But we are a part, not the whole. We have the qualities, but not the quantity. And I just realised I'm at the I'm at a set of traffic lights, right? If I was God, I could make these traffic lights change. But I'm not, and neither are you. So I can't. So I either sit there for a month or I go through them. Because I'm not God, I don't know what's coming up next. I don't know. I can't alter. I can't even control my mind, let alone control my flatulence or my hunger pains or any other desires. I cannot control basic physical desires, and yet I claim to be God? Really? You see the absurdity of it? So we need to understand where we fit into the scheme of things, that we are children of love, children of God. God is the most powerful, the most beautiful, the wisest, and is the source of love. And depending on what spiritual path you follow, your understanding of the Supreme, your perception or understanding may be coming from a different angle. It's like I've previously done a live stream talking about looking at the mountain from different sides and seeing different features. So it doesn't change the absoluteness of the mountain, but it does change the relative perception that we have of the mountain. So that is the same with God. Depending on where you're coming from, depending on your level of awareness, depends on how you understand God. Some people see God as impersonal, as a white light, as what's referred to as a Brahma Jyoti. And this is their awareness. They have seen up to that point. Other people are aware of the personal aspect of God, and they are therefore able to appreciate that we are coming from, in that lineage, I guess, we're coming from that, created from that personal aspect, in the same way that we would appreciate that as when we look at our parents, and we'd see the characteristics and similarities that we have with them. So it is, when somebody says, you know, I am God, you can very easily nip that one in the bud. You know, very easily nip that one in the bud. Just ask them a few questions. Really? So you're God, so you can transcend death of the body, that you can't even stop having a cold getting a runny nose, getting, you know, pimples or a sore, bumping yourself and getting a sore whatever, finger or something like that, and yet you claim to be God. So you can very easily nip that one in the bud, and then you can understand why it's pervasive, because it gives, as I said at the beginning, gives people the excuse to say, well, you know, you are me and I am you and we're all connected, and, you know, it doesn't matter what we do, it's all bliss, it's all, you know, it's all God, loving God. And it's like, wow, you've been smoking some shit, haven't you? It's all, you know, it's like, so, you know, it gives us an excuse then to basically just do what we want to do and take away from the repercussions. So, you know, it doesn't matter if it's immoral or unethical or dangerous or unhealthy. If our false ego wants to do it, then we can use that excuse and say, yep, yeah, right, it doesn't matter in the long run. So it's a really good cop-out that is used in New Age spiritual circles. And yeah, these people that, you know, have claimed to be God, all at some point have to leave their body, and they don't want to, but they're not God, so they don't have any choice. They can't transcend death any more than they can transcend anything else. They cannot transcend the death of the body, and they can make excuses for it, but the proof is in the pudding. So I hope that gives you something to think about. Yeah, our false ego loves to think that it is God, but just be aware of the little tricks that it plays when it comes to that sort of thoughts. Hope you have a great winter solstice in the Southern Hemisphere. Live vegan and save lives, and I'll speak to you soon.